Hey everybody, I'm Anthony.
And I'm Addison.
And this is the Dynamic Review.
Today we'll be talking about Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim versus the world.
Scott Pilgrim is a Canadian graphic novel series written by Brian Lee O'Malley. It consists of 6 black and white volumes released between August 2004 and July 2010.
Yeah, the volumes were Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life. The second volume was Scott Pilgrim versus the World. The third, Scott Pilgrim and the Infinite Sadness. Fourth, Scott Pilgrim Gets It Together. 5, Scott Pilgrim versus the Universe. And finally, Scott Pilgrim's Finest Hour. The story follows 23-year-old Scott Pilgrim, who is a slacker, part-time musician bum. He plays bass for the band a band that he is in with his friends called Sex Bomb. He recently just got a girlfriend. Her name was Knives Chow. She is 17 years old, still in high school.
Still in high school?
Yeah, it's weird. That's Canada. They have a completely different kind of tradition than we do. But but overall, Scott's life was pretty much perfect. It was a precious little life. Then one day he decides to go to a party and he sees this girl, kind of instantly falls in love with her. This girl was Ramona Flowers.
Free healthcare and free game.
Anyway, so Scott dumps his girlfriend Knives to try to get rid of Ramona, but then he soon learns that to date Ramona Flowers, Scott must defeat Ramona's her 7 evil ex-boyfriends, or just her exes. Scott will battle action stars, superpowered vegans, twins, and even a ninja, or 2.
How to become a superpowered vegan?
I don't know. This is Canada. How am I supposed to know this? Anyway, the Scott Pilgrim series is really insightful. It's funny. It was kind of my catcher in the rye. I mean, if I'm having like a bad week or I'm in this little funk, I read Scott Pilgrim because it kind of it snaps something in your mind. It's like you need to get over yourself, and that's kind of what it is. It's a book about a loser who is full of himself and then finally realizes that the world doesn't revolve around him. But yeah, overall, it's a great series. So the cool part is that in 2010, the series was adapted into a feature-length film titled Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is also the title of the second volume. The movie was produced and directed by Edgar Wright, the man who did Shaun of the Dead,
Hot Fuzz,
The World's End,
Grindhouse,
and also he's doing the upcoming
Ant-Man movie.
He's also doing the 2015 Ant-Man movie, Ba-Boom, with Hank Pym and Neil Ultron.
Scott Pilgrim?
Hi, I was thinking about asking you out, but then I realized how stupid that would be.
That's okay. You just need to sign for this, all right?
So do you want to go out sometime?
If I say yes, will you sign for your damn package?
So yeah, 8 o'clock?
Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was a B-class movie, but for a B-class movie, it had a pretty awesome cast. It had Michael Cera as Scott Pilgrim. It had Johnny Simmons, who played young Neil. He was also in Perks of Being a Wallflower. It had Anna Kendrick. I can't say her name. My bad. She's the chick from. What was she? She was in Twilight. She was in Pitch Perfect. Good God, why do I know that? Aubrey Plaza, who plays Julie Powers. Aubrey Plaza is actually in a current movie called The Checklist. I heard it was terrible. Also, Chris Evans, who, we all know as Captain America or Johnny Storm, plays Lucas Lee, one of the evil exes. Also, Brandon Routh plays Todd Ingram, the superpowered vegan. He's, Superman. So, I mean, this was actually a pretty awesome cast. And when you think about it, none of these people, a lot of these people went off to do, really cool things and for not a very good movie. But yeah, overall, the movie was filmed before the series itself was actually completed, so the endings and the middle, that's not the endings, the ending and the middle of the movie were really, really different. Overall, I thought the movie was bad. It was not as good as the book. But that's what we are going to rate right now. So Addison, you saw Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and you've read the Scott Pilgrim series, correct?
I have.
Alright, so what would you give the Scott Pilgrim series? Actually, no, let's do it this way. What would you give Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life? Out of 5.
I would give the first one 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5? Alright, how about Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
3.5 out of 5.
What would you give Scott Pilgrim and the Infinite Sadness?
4 out of 5.
What would you give Scott Pilgrim Gets It Together?
4 out of 5.
What would you give Scott Pilgrim versus the Universe?
4 out of 5.
What would you get Scott Pilgrim's Finest Hour?
4 out of 5.
Anyway, I'll lump it all together. Scott Pilgrim series, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Alright, you saw Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the movie.
I did.
Alright, what'd you give that?
I give it a 3 out of 5.
I'll give it a 2.5 out of 5.
I'm nicer than he is.
Yeah, he really is. I was very critical of this movie because I love the series. Alright, well, that was a dynamic review of Scott Pilgrim. I'm Anthony.
I'm Addison.
And this was a review.